main types of narcissistic fathers, and both exert these characteristics. They are overt narcissists and covert narcissists, where the first may exhibit more personal dominance, arrogance, and extreme resistance to criticism. The second type is more shame-driven and less extraverted in their approach to others. Nevertheless, both are toxic and malignant to be raised by, and their behaviors and patterns can easily obstruct the child's growth, causing them mental health problems in adulthood, creating identity crisis, codependency, and self-confidence issues. When distinguishing a narcissistic father, there are a few key ways in which one can determine the presence of narcissism. The most important ones to take notice of are a father's attitude, the dynamic of their relationship, and their parenting style towards a single child. Narcissists see all their children differently, so it is important to compare the father's relationship with all children separately, as it is not uncommon for them to have a golden favorite child and prefer one over the other. If you are suspecting your father exhibits traits of a narcissist, here are a few major signs to look for to help in discernment. A narcissistic father is either overly involved or completely detached. Their involvement in their offspring's life varies from complete possessiveness to absolute indifference, depending on how a child is behaving and their own narcissistic disposition. They are overly involved in all aspects of their lives, from school or university life to socializing, hobbies, and dating. Narcissists are self-centered people, and they take their children's success and failure as if it was their own, which will additionally dictate their involvement or non-involvement. If they are proud of their child, they will make sure the child and themselves are seen. If not, they will completely ignore and disengage themselves from their child's life, as if the child is not deserving of love, just for being who they are. They see their children as extensions of themselves. Their children are not seen as individuals, but parts of themselves, which causes the father's and child's identities to merge. Because of that, everything a child does is taken very personally, be it for good or for bad. Every success is seen as a personal success. It boosts their self-confidence and is an affirmation of their own value. Conversely, every perceived failure and mistake a child makes is subconsciously seen as their own fault. In such situations, a narcissist can even rigorously punish the child for embarrassing and disappointing them. The affection between them is present, and the nature of such a relationship is a codependent parental relationship. Instead of attending to the child's actual needs and paying attention to their individuality, such fathers live through their children. They pay attention to similarities between themselves and the child and diminish or even punish what makes the child unique and authentic. The father lives through the child, and so they focus on their potential rather than the real capabilities and desires of a child. The father idealizes the child. Idealization takes many forms and is based on the father's unrealistic perception of the child, where he exaggerates and tries to boost certain aspects of a child's personality while taking no notice of other aspects. He always has an image of a perfect child in mind, a child who is successful in all areas he'd like her to be successful in, and will go out of his way to boost, praise, and amplify skills and personality traits he finds to match this idealized image. It is not uncommon for such a father to ignore the child's natural talents and gifts if they do not match his projected ideal. they will push their children into hobbies and activities they personally prefer, not those the child is the most interested in. Every behavior that is compatible with idealized images will be loudly praised, while everything that deviates from that will be ignored, punished, sabotaged, or dismissed. The narcissistic father is overly controlling because they are driven by the idealized image of their child. The parental relationship is colored with an extreme amount of control. The father needs to be involved in every decision-making process and needs to have a firm grip on every aspect of their child's life. This includes schooling, career choice, time, hobbies, and leisure activities, choosing friends, socializing and dating, personal appearance, money, or anything else they can have control over. An excessive amount of control is there to ensure two things. 1, to establish a solid narcissistic supply and create a child's dependency on them. And 2, to prevent a child's independence and detachment from them. The father ignores the child's emotional needs due to a lack of empathy and the inability to connect with others in a healthy way. Children of narcissistic fathers are frequently deprived of true affection, which leaves marks on their emotional self later in life. They are not allowed to say or express how they feel, and the free flow of love and affection is interrupted by the constant cycle of pricing and shaming. As a result, such children learn that love is never given freely, but must be earned, which is what the emotional bond between the child and the narcissistic father is built on. Love is always conditional, and kids are not loved for who they are, but for who their father wants them to be. Such fathers usually shift the focus to building their child's skills, manners, or preparing them for success, completely ignoring their emotional well-being. This is why, even though a father may be a present figure in the family, when he is a narcissist, a child may feel rejected, neglected, and ignored due to his inability to tend to their emotional needs or give nurturing care, just as if he wasn't there at all. The father displays superficial charm. Narcissists are very charismatic people and like to be admired. They know the right things to say or do to be liked and well received by people. For someone who is not in close relationship with them, a narcissist will appear very pleasant, sociable, and respectable. To the outside world, they seem like great dads who sacrifice a lot and always fight for their family, which can cause confusion in their children. A child of a narcissist will often hear how great of a father they have, and that they should be thankful for having someone so attentive to raise them. Narcissistic fathers are easily triggered and enraged. Narcissists do not tolerate criticism or failures. Because they don't have a well-developed emotional intelligence, they display almost infantile reactions to behaviors and situations they don't approve of. Internally, when they feel ashamed, undervalued, rejected, and afraid, they will project these negative emotions onto other family members, including a child. These reactions, or projections, can vary from passive-aggressive treatments, insults, to outright rage. Because of their mental disposition, an idealized picture of how things should be, they do not accept deviations from expected perfection. Human faults and mistakes are seen as disasters, and something a child should be ashamed of, not something they can learn from, or something that could contribute to their personal growth. There is a lack of compromise, flexibility, and adaptability to other people's needs, including their own children. As a narcissist truly, deeply believes everyone else should adapt to them. The father makes a child feel guilty and ashamed. A child grows up feeling as if there are parts of themselves that need to be hidden, parts of their personality that are not acceptable and should be kept in control, including a child's emotional nature, aspirations, interests, and talents. These are usually not naturally deviant behaviors by any means, but simply behaviors that deviate from their father's idealized image. For a child, there is usually an unexplainable element of restriction and extreme awareness of one's behavior from a young age, followed by a sense of not having enough freedom to explore, be spontaneous, or creative as a child. Furthermore, there's a sense of fear that being authentic will incur the father's judgment and rejection. Growing up, a child is deemed guilty by their father for not trying harder, not doing better in school, not looking or behaving better, or not behaving as good as their brother, sister, relatives, or neighbors. A narcissistic father played the blame game. They have an inclination to blame everyone else in the family when they experience personal failure or have issues, be it the other parent or the child. Lack of admiration, recognition for their talents and capabilities, lack of success, or bad health are always because of someone else. A narcissist believes the whole world is against them and everyone tries to sabotage them. So family members are usually at fault when their self-perceived talents and value don't get the recognition they think they deserve. Due to grandiosity complex, they don't take responsibility or accountability for their failures or behaviors, but simply pass them to a scapegoat, a person who is blamed for the narcissist's mistakes. Paternal narcissism is very complex, but these fathers all display these behaviors to a different degree. Not all narcissistic fathers will be the same in their relations with children, but all of them will have some of the listed elements combined together. Hopefully, these signs were helpful and could give you some clarity about what you've lived through and who the person is that raised you. First, recognizing and accepting that your father may not be the protector you thought them to be is the first step to understanding some of your own patterns, behaviors, and most importantly, it is the first step to building yourself up and healing from such a relationship.